Good afternoon, and welcome to Workinar Wednesday, Revamp Your Resume. This is Nancy Dugan. I'm the Director of Career Services for Education and Human Ecology. Before we start the presentation, I'd like to do some housekeeping things. So I just want you to be aware of that this session is being recorded and it will be posted on our website. Your microphones and your videos have been disabled. The closed captioning is available. And please use the question and answer for any specific questions you have, and we'll try to answer them as we can throughout the session. And also, if you have any other additional comments, please use the chat function. So now I would like to introduce our speaker today. And our speaker is Anita Silva Coyle, who is the Regional HR Generalist at Bob Evans, and she has her degree in Hospitality Management. So she's one of our EHE alumni. And so, Anita, it's your turn now.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you everyone for joining us with our Workinar Wednesdays. We're really excited to have you here today. And I'll be going over how to revamp your resume and just learning how to make your resume stand out in the crowd. As Nancy mentioned, I am an alum of OSU in the College of EHE, so go Bucks, back in 2007. And have my bachelor's degree in hospitality management, and definitely understand being in some pretty challenging times. When I graduated, it was definitely a slump in the economy, and hiring wasn't really happening for a lot of folks. So I understand that we all have to kind of look at things and tweak things as we go. And so I'm looking forward to being on this journey with you today to help you really make your resume stand out. All right, so we're going to go through our agenda here, and just to kind of give you an idea of some of the topics we're going to cover. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to use the chat feature. But we're going to go through resume tips, and then talk about, the skills. What do you have? What do you put on your resume? And rules for resume writing, along with some resume reviews for some of you that were brave to submit your resumes. And then we'll just kind of wrap things up with a takeaway and some recap. All right, so first up, resume tips. So what I've done today is just giving you some of those highlights as obviously college students and as alum. We're going to go through these 7 resume tips. I'll go through them right quickly here, and then we'll go and dive deep a little bit more in the further slides. So we're going to choose a resume format, resume contact information, the objective and or summary statement. What does that look like? And then obviously including your education, so important since we're all Buckeyes, and adding in any of that work experience, or if you don't have work experience, what does that look like? Listing relevant skills, and then proofread your resume. So these are the 7 resume tips we'll go over here in the next few slides. The first thing I wanted to show you was just a screenshot of a functional resume, kind of giving you that visual of what to look for when formatting your resume. And I will say, I'll give that plug to Indeed. If you haven't checked it out, there is a career guide there. So some of you had asked about some resources, where do I find a template? What does that look like? Indeed is definitely a great resource. It's a tool that we utilize with Bob Evans Restaurants to find people, and also there are great formats there. You can see this is a functional resume, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it basically is tailoring your content to the requirements of the position and highlighting your strengths and aspects of your education, so employers will find those most valuable, and obviously showing your attributes and showcasing your accomplishments. So we'll go through this through the next few slides, and we'll see some of the examples, but it's clean, it's easy to read. You can see that bold type and skills sectioned out, relevant professional experience, and then the education at the bottom. So the next slide is, again, what we're going to talk about, that resume tip number 1. Choose a resume format. So we're going to keep it simple, 1 column format if possible, because again, as a recruiter, I look at resumes every day, all day, probably dream about them. And when you see a lot of different types of resumes, the more simple, the better. And trying to keep it to 1 page if possible. 2 pages is okay, but obviously it has to make the most sense for the job that you're looking at. We want it to be easy to scan. So you have your name and contact information, your education and achievements, employment history, relevant skills and experiences, and then eliminating any of the blank spaces by adding sections. And we'll talk about what that looks like and how to do that. All right, the next slide is our resume tip number 2. So that is going to be that resume contact info. So as a recruiter, my eyes are always going to the very top section of your resume. So that's where I'm looking first. So I want to see your first and last name, the city and state that you're in. You don't have to provide your full mailing address if that's not something you feel comfortable with. Or if maybe you are open to relocation, that's something that you could add in to your resume as well. Obviously, phone number and email address are the go-to ways that we're going to be contacting you for a job. And include a link to your professional profile or website if you have one. So I would highly recommend adding in your LinkedIn profile link specifically. That is just another way to expand on your resume. If you're maybe feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't get this to 1 page, that's okay. There's a way to get your resume to 1 page, 1 format, and then you can expand a lot more in LinkedIn so people can learn a little bit more about some of your volunteer activities and community activities. So keep this again to 1 line, and your name should be obviously that larger font. All right, so resume tip number 3, we've got the objective or summary statement. I know there's a lot of words on this page, but I wanted to give you some of those examples of 1 to 2 sentences that really sum up your short-term professional goals, why you're seeking employment. I have to say that I am not receiving a lot of cover letters from folks these days. And when you maybe post your resume online on Indeed or other websites, this objective and summary should be tailored to the job, to the company. So you may have various versions of your resume, but make sure that this is tailored to the company that you're applying to. It's very important. But this really gives somebody that idea of what you're looking for. So I wanted to provide some examples here that may really speak to you, and listen for those key words, some of those punch words that really stand out. The first bullet point here is, I'm a highly driven recent business school graduate seeking a full-time position in finance where I can lend my knowledge of market analytics to help your organization improve profitability. Wow. I mean, it's already just giving me so much excitement from that person, and maybe they don't have a ton of work experience, but they're already telling me what they can provide to the company. So it's your way of giving your little, quick blurb commercial of the return on investment that a company will have by hiring you. The second bullet point here is, I'm a motivated team player, an aspiring fashion buyer with proven communication skills, seeking to grow my knowledge of the couture industry and use my conversational skills as a junior retail associate for your women's formal wear boutique. So very specific and niche to that market, to that field, which is fantastic. And obviously this is an aspiring fashion buyer, so I already know that maybe this is someone entry level, but they know what they want and they are wanting to get back and get into that couture industry, which again, being very specific, keeping it short and sweet. Third bullet point is friendly, positive, and detail-oriented individual seeking an entry-level position in a fast-paced restaurant that allows for the application of customer service and food preparation skills. So again, this is for the entry-level individual, someone who's looking to get more of that experience. Maybe you don't have that work experience, so this would be a great one to use as well. And lastly, goal-focused individual seeking a leadership role with a thriving, growing company to apply management, leadership, and motivational skills when overseeing a team of professionals and working toward a common goal to increase productivity. So right there, that's somebody who's in a management role already. I know that they have experience leading a team, managing a team, and they've already told me that they're very goal-focused and motivational. So it gives that little bit of a teaser that we need right at the top of your resume. So resume tip number 4, the education section. You all have been working so hard to get that degree, or you're an amazing OSU alum, so you want to make sure you are shouting out your education. I would recommend to move that education section to the bottom of the page so that, again, that summary's at the top, it gives that pop, and then I'm already seeing with bullet points, but we wanted to make sure we highlight this. The education section can include the name of your school, location of your school, the degree you are pursuing, if that's applicable, your field or fields of study, and your graduation year, if applicable. You don't have to put the graduation year. A lot of times that may obviously give some insight to when you just graduated, or if it's been a while since you graduated. That is, again, up to you. And then your GPA, you may not want to include this if it's not above 3.5. I personally have never put my GPA on my resume, and I do include my graduation year right now. Maybe later in life, I won't want to. So any relevant honors or academic recognition or coursework or activities or other achievements obtained during your education would be helpful, especially if you don't have any paid work experience. This again gives a little bit more of like that meat and potatoes to your resume if you are new to the work field. Alrighty, so I know that we're going to have a question out there to kind of see if you have any internship experience, or maybe you have one set up. Because work experience, I know for a lot of you, maybe you haven't had a paid job that you could put on your resume. So you're wondering, well, what do I put on a resume? So just think about what internship experience you already have, even volunteer experience, or maybe you have an internship that's set up that you're excited about. So you don't have to put necessarily just paid job experience on your resume. Include those volunteer internships or extracurricular activities. And if you do have paid job experience or relevant internships, then list those first with the name of the company, its location, and the years you interned. Now, this is one of my biggest takeaways, so please take note. Just provide 2 to 3 bullet points highlighting your achievements. And I mean your achievements. What have you done for that company? What successes can you really shout out, and using those action verbs during your time in those positions. And also, my other big key thing here is include any measurable or quantifiable successes you had with numbers where possible. My eyes as a recruiter is going to focus on any number or percentage or dollar sign that you put on your resume, and bullet points just make it clean and easy to read. This is super important. I don't want to see a job description on the resume. I want to see what you provided for that company, what you did in that job to really, again, be that return on investment and why I should hire you. All right, resume tip number 7, relevant skills. When an employer reviews your resume, they're looking to understand why you'd make a valuable addition to their team. And we're actually going to dive into the skills section, hard versus soft skills, later on in this presentation. So we'll go to the last one here, and it's proofread your resume. So if you were paying attention just now, and we'll go to the next slide, proofread your resume means that we're going to be looking at it before uploading it online and sending it to your potential employer. So if you didn't really realize, I didn't proofread that on purpose. Resume tip number 6 was prior to resume tip number 7 here. So see, it's so important to proofread as you go, have someone else's eyes and ears looking at your resume and information. So when you've read it, reread it again. Again, I want to put the screenshot up again just to have you see this visual of what that functional resume looks like. Again, it's clear cut, bold name at the top, contact information, summary, areas of experience. They even, grouped out a specific area for skills, because any word that you put on your resume and you post it online, it's searchable. So using those keywords that are in a job description are going to be so helpful, along with your relevant professional experience and then education at the bottom. So this is a recommendation of a type of format for a resume. All right, now we're gonna get into, do you have the skills? And what skills do you have? So the skills section of your resume shows the employers, you have the abilities and required to succeed in the role. So here are what I would say have been rated as the top best skills to include on a resume: active listening, communication, computer skills, customer service, interpersonal skills, leadership, management skills, problem solving, time management, and transferable skills. So these are obviously the things that are going to pop out to the employer, that show you have the ability required to succeed in the role. And often employers pay special attention to the skills section of your resume to determine if they should move forward with you in the hiring process, since I know it's kind of that snapshot of what you can bring to the table. So hard skills versus soft skills. I'm sure you've heard of this before. What does that really mean? How do I add that into my resume? So these are just some examples of hard skills. If you're bilingual or multilingual, if you have experience in database management, are you a guru in Adobe software suite? If you've utilized a point of sale system, what's the name of it? Have you done implementation or integration, or did you train people in that? Mobile development, customer relation management, especially in the service industry, that's super important. And then any SEO or search engine optimization marketing. Very important nowadays with how we're marketing, how we're reaching our guests or customers. So soft skills, to me, really play a big part in what I look for in a great candidate, because I can train and teach you the skills or the process to do a job of step by step, but I can't teach you to, have high integrity or to be dependable. That's in you. So highlighting those are great. So integrity, dependability, teamwork, effective communication, problem solving, organization, and adaptability. Those are just some that really stick out. And I would say you need to kind of dig deep, because sometimes soft skills are a little bit hard to maybe put on paper. Maybe you feel like you're boasting, but that's your time to shine. So soft skills, again, are personal habits and traits that shape how you work on your own and with others. Often those soft skills may be referred to as like people skills or social skills. In an interview, I really don't want to hear someone say that they have people skills. Tell me specifically, I'm reliable because I'm dependable because I worked in a team of 100 people and had to lead a project. So I think coming up with some of those specific examples will help you. So we're actually going to put up a poll question here. So basically think about and dig deep a little bit, but do you have any, certifications or hard skills that stand out? So think about that, answer the question, and then we'll see how you do. Seeing some good things coming through here. Sometimes it's hard to think about what skills do I have. All right. So looks like we had 67% of you say that yes, you have certifications or hard skills that stand out. Fantastic. Jot those down. If they're not already on your resume, get those on there. And I'm sure that some of you that answered no, just think about the technical skills. Again, technical knowledge or training that you've gained through any life experience, and that can include education or career knowledge or, again, certifications. So think about that, and I bet you can come up with some great ones. And for those of you that are not sure, again, sometimes asking some people around you about some of the skills that they've put on a resume, or looking to see what might be out there for some of those technical skills. So thanks for taking the time to poll. We appreciate that. All right, so we're going to move on to how to identify your best skills, which is the next slide. Again, you're going to consider your awards, ask former coworkers or fellow students, and then talk to professionals. So, with your awards, did you ever receive recognition for meeting a particular objective or excelling in a specific area? I bet you can say yes to that. So, your skills likely assisted you in achieving that achievement, to reaching that achievement. So consider what personal talents or attributes helped you meet that milestone. So those of you that answered, I don't know, or no, you got this. And then ask some of your coworkers or maybe some of your peers. Sometimes just asking someone else is more helpful than really, maybe you just don't feel confident to pick out those strengths that you have. Or reach out to a former manager or colleague who worked closely with you. And obviously, if you're new to the professional world, reach out to students you worked with or teachers who know you well, someone that you might even consider as a mentor. And that's also just a great way to continue to have that network of people in the field. So if you're having a difficult time determining what skills an employer may want to see, just contact a professional already working in the industry. And if you haven't already, connect with people on LinkedIn that work for the company that you're interested in or that you're applying with. And again, nowadays it's so easy to connect virtually and also compare, kind of seeing what they have on their resumes to give you some great ideas to put on yours. All right, so the next slide here is, how to list your skills on your resume. I saw some of that, those questions come in from you all. And basically, the simplest thing to do is review that job description, research the company. Those seem like kind of no-brainers, but it's so important to look at some of the keywords that the company is using on that job description, because that's exactly how you should be tailoring your resume. So again, you may have different versions of your resume that highlight for maybe a little bit more of a sales manager role or a service manager role, or sports and recreation and marketing. So decide on a skills section format. So we saw earlier a functional resume. So you could have something specifically in a separate section if you wanted to. I'd say, have maybe at least 5 skills listed, hard and soft skills at the very minimum, but also make sure you're weaving in those skills into your professional experience. So in those bullet points, go through and really look at, have I added a skill here in this bullet point? Have I added a skill in this one? With the next section, again, just to give you that reminder of what a functional resume looks like: clean, 1 page, very streamlined. Now we've got the skills, we've talked about some resume tips. Now here's rules for resume writing. And for a busy hiring manager, your resume provides that snapshot of your career and is often the determining factor in whether to land an interview. If a job search is a journey, a stellar resume is your passport. So I want to make sure to give you the right skills to have that passport to get in to that interview. So 6 rules for resume writing. We're going to cover all the basics. Keep it to a simple 1-column format, as we've mentioned. These are just some professional font that I probably see more, I use more. Calibri, Cambria, Franklin Gothic, Gill Sans, something that is simple and easy to read. And use as few words as possible in the resume. I know that's the biggest challenge. How do I get everything onto 1 page? So again, it's doing a couple drafts and seeing, like, can I take this out? How can I make this concise? And as I mentioned earlier, quantify your accomplishments whenever possible. Adding in those numbers, those successes, those percentages, those dollar signs, that's what my eye's gonna go to say, wow, they really did a lot here. And then you're using keywords that employers are using in job descriptions. And so go through that job description, highlight some keywords, make sure you then transfer those to your resume, because that's already going to help that recruiter say, wow, they already are speaking our lingo. And then lastly, proofread several times to catch any typos or misspellings. So we're going to go through a little bit more here of those resume writing tips. I wanted to show you another type of format. Again, this is essentially what we've seen, just kind of blanked out, but you have your name and contact info at the top, so that's your basic information. Your summary and objective, less than 50 words if you can. Then your professional history, which would be the company name, dates of tenure, description of the role, and your achievements. Quantify those things. You can have a separate skills section and education. And then optional would be like those awards and achievements, any of your hobbies or interests. I would say you're adding in that optional section if you do feel like you need to add a little bit more to not create any of that blank space. All right, so some of you were brave and great about sending in some resumes. So I've got a few here that I want to just check out and offer some, again, some recap of what we've already learned and some suggestions, so you can kind of compare to see what some of your peers have done. So the first resume, again, thank you to for submitting your resumes for me to look at. I was really impressed overall. So I've kind of highlighted here green as in great, yellow, hey, we can move some things, and red, hey, this was left out, or maybe eliminate this. So the first thing at the top, we see that there's the name and contact information. So we got our basic info. They had a large font name and then their address, email, phone number. I would just suggest to add in your LinkedIn profile link if you have one. Again, that is going to give that recruiter a little bit more knowledge of who you are, who you're connected with, and maybe give you that job interview that maybe didn't give you that connection before. I would recommend with this resume to move the education spot to the bottom. Again, we want to put that summary after that contact information, that 50 words or less. Why should we be looking at you? Why should we be hiring you? Because cover letters kind of are being phased out. I don't see them a lot. Add a skills section after the summary too. This is, again, for a functional resume format. And then you've got some great bold type bullet points. I would say we want to just streamline and just keep it to 2 to 3 bullet points if possible, and make sure that the bullet points are quantifiable. Throughout this resume, I didn't see a whole lot of that, the measurable success of what you provided. So I want to see more numbers and percentages or dollar signs. You know, how big was the team that you managed? How much did the event cost that you helped to market? Things like that. And you can weave in those skills in your resume. And then, of course, the format overall is beautiful. It's easy, clean, one page, and essentially one column. Gives me everything I need to know. And I love at the bottom, there's great internship and sports experience. So overall, great resume. I would just say add a summary section and streamline and quantify those bullet points to make you stand out. So the next resume that we're going to look at, I would say has a little bit more opportunities. It seems like we have 2 pages. 2 pages is okay. However, I would say because I want to see more of that work experience, there's a lot of professional experience, leadership, and community involvement is really on that second page. So there's a lot that we could eliminate and streamline to keep it to 1 page to really make you stand out even more. Some positives here are, large font name at the top, information, just add that LinkedIn profile so then you can add your leadership and community involvement there, and you'll be able to tag people and link more of those involvements versus here on this resume. Again, I would recommend to move the education to the bottom. It's not the worst thing in the world to have it at the top, but that adding that summary, I don't see a summary. I don't know what you're really looking for here. I would also move and add the skills section after the summary just to help to reduce it to 1 page, because you do have 2 skills listed here which are great, and those are more of those hard skills. You could keep those in a different skill section or just insert them in your bullet points within the bulk of your resume. And again, I know I'm saying this a lot, but just quantify those bullet points. Find those measurable things that you've really been able to do in that work experience or maybe an internship, and combine sections to streamline. So overall, the format looks really nice. I would just say we want to get it to 1 page if possible. So you may have to move some of that leadership and community involvement, perhaps taking out some of those bullet points, just adding a section with some of those involvement activities, and just move the skills up so I can see a little bit more of, again, what you're bringing to the table if you don't have a longer work experience to put on that resume. But thank you for submitting that resume. The last resume that we're going to look at here is another functional resume format, but it looks a little different. And I think that this is great. The first one, we had everything kind of at the top and streamlining down. This resume, you see the format itself has all of the basic information and contact information to the left-hand side, which is also great because, again, everything still looks very streamlined. So you've got the contact information, large font and name, email, cell phone, add in that LinkedIn profile if possible. And then you've got, again, the summary is right at the top of that resume, which is great. Maybe you want to bold it or italicize it to make it stand out a little bit more, but I already know right from the get-go that you're a success-driven team player, boom, boom, and exactly what you're looking for. I would recommend, again, just streamlining a little bit more to have 2 to 3 bullet points and just add more of that quantifiable, how much did the hotel do in sales? What was the average guest count for an event? Things like that, putting in those numbers so you're able to really wow with the recruiter, and weaving in those skills. And you'll see here on the left-hand side, they did add the education section, which is great. And off to the side is wonderful. And I love that there's a skills section with hard and soft skills intertwined. So overall, a really good resume format, different look and feel. So totally your preference. It's a way to give you a little bit more of that style of your resume, and streamline and quantify the bullet points to make you stand out. Obviously, these are functional resumes are simple and easy to read, especially when you're posting multiple resumes on different websites, very artistic resumes. Again, it's really tailoring it to the job that you're looking for and the position itself. So I would say in service industry, it's all about, let's make sure it's easy to read so I can get the information. And a lot of career sites will parse your resume too. So having it in a format that the words are being pulled from that resume easily, and making sure the words are make sense with the job description are going to be very helpful as well. So thank you for those of you that submitted your resumes to be reviewed. Appreciate you doing that. Now we're going to wrap things up. I know I shared a lot of information with you, but some of the takeaways that I hope you have from today's presentation. Resume tip is, keep your format clear and concise and easy to read. One page, one column if possible. If you go to 2 pages, just again, really think, is this specific to the job description and the company that I'm applying to? Skills, you've got them, you do. Ask your peers, write them down, and then look at that job description to see what skills you can connect the dots with, so you have something that's more tailored just to that job. And weaving them throughout the resume will be very important. And then lastly, rules for resume writing. You're keeping it simple. Use those quantifiable shout outs that will make you stand out and tailor the job description to the company. I can't stress that enough, because I want people who've done the research and understand what we're looking for as a recruiter. So I really do appreciate you all giving me the time today to speak with you, and also good luck revamping your resume. I hope the tips and examples today were helpful to make you stand out. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to connect and love to be able to help out anyone along their journey, because I've been there, and I've been in retail and restaurants and hotel operations, and now on the HR side of things for the last 10 years. So I'm here to help, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of your questions.
Again, hi again, and thank you for participating. Anita, we had a couple questions. I'm going to read them out to you, and we'll see how many we can get done here in the time allowed. Should you include jobs on your resume pertaining to the job that you're trying to get, or include the starter job positions as well?
Okay, so that's a great question. Definitely, if you want to go through first and list all of your jobs to see, okay, where is this putting me at in terms of space on a one-page, one-format resume? I think ultimately keeping the jobs that are more specific to the position are good. And nowadays, we know that there's going to be a little bit of those gaps where people aren't working right now or trying to find a job. So when possible, making sure that the dates are continuing to be in a chronological order is important. And if for some reason you've got some other jobs that are a little bit older or a while back, you can always list those as other professional experience, and then list the companies and the years, but you don't have to do, the 2 to 3 bullet points.
Okay, thank you. And here's another one. I've had many jobs throughout the years. How many years back should I go, or should I just include my most recent jobs?
So I see this a lot where we've got really wonderful seasoned individuals that are in the industry. And ultimately, again, you want to be able to shout out that you have this great experience. Maybe you've been in the industry for 20, 30 years. So again, putting your more recent positions now, but let's say you're trying to get back into an industry that you haven't been in for the last 5 or 10 years. So you're going to want to add those onto your resume. Again, it's your snapshot. So if during that that interview process, if you mentioned like, oh, I've worked for this company before, which is just like your company, and if I don't see that on the resume, then I would say, well, I didn't see that on the resume. I'm glad we're talking now. So if you think that that would be something that would come up in an interview, then definitely put it on your resume. Again, if it's something where space and going to that second page, if it's going to be worth putting it on that second page, because, hey, you spent 20 years at this company, but then you've had maybe lots of other jobs since then. So then you're going to 2 pages. That 2 pages well worth it.
Okay, thanks. And here's another one. How many versions or templates of your resume would you recommend writing or saving?
So we definitely talked about that during the presentation, where you're going to be tailoring a resume. It's not one size fits all. You could do one size fits all. I can usually see the one size fits all resumes. So the important thing is that summary or objective may be what you're tweaking the most for that particular company and for that job description. So I think back when I was doing a lot of job searching myself as a college graduate, I had at least 10 different versions of my resume, depending on if it was hotels or retail or restaurant specific. So you may have a little bit of an arsenal in your toolbox to be able to send out, and just make sure you triple check before you send it out of who you're sending it to.
Okay, thanks. Here's another one. Hello, with furloughs looming, should I add in my summary why I am seeking a job due to a furlough or a layoff?
It's a great question. And I think that because we're all affected some way, somehow by COVID affecting our jobs, definitely that's an okay thing to put on a summary or objective. I've also seen folks that do add in their, at the end of their work experience, why they left a position. So that's something that is very helpful nowadays too. So it kind of eliminates that guessing game, especially, if you left on good terms and it was a furlough, or maybe your company or unit closed due to something that's out of your control. Adding that into your resume after that work experience is helpful for that recruiter, and just gives them a little bit more of your full story before even talking with you. So I think that can give you a leg up.
Okay, thanks. And here's another one. If a job requires a cover letter, what would you recommend to include?
So that cover letter is, again, that opportunity for you to have a very, maybe like 1 or 2 paragraphs, nothing too lengthy. I don't need to know your whole life story, but again, it's your opportunity to say, here's my summary, here's my objective. So maybe you're expanding a little bit more than 50 words of what you're putting on your resume summary or objective. This has to be super specific to that job description and the company that you're working for. So look at, what's their culture like? What do they have on their website? The job description specifically, what are the requirements, but what are the skills that they're looking for, and how can you weave those words in so they pop out? And again, I think keeping it just to 1 page, very simple. Do not do 2 pages of a cover letter. I don't think many people are going to go to that second page.
Okay, thanks. Again, another great question. How long after you graduate should I wait before I drop off intern experience from my resume?
So I would say, again, it depends on, is the internship experience aligned with the field that you're continuing to apply for jobs? Then keep that on. If it's something that you did, maybe it was in, maybe you're working an internship with a sports team, helping with their marketing or social media. Maybe you're still really passionate about social media marketing, but now it's in a different field. Maybe now it's in fashion. I think that if you're able to tie in those transferable skills, you can keep it on. It's something that it will probably fall off after you're having a few more years of that work experience to add in more of your own quantifiable successes of your work experience. But if you're 10 years an alum, then maybe that internship experience again, gets kind of phased out a little bit because of all the great work experience you've already built now.
Okay, thanks. Again, here's another one. I've seen a lot of teachers add their pictures on their resumes. I wanted to know what your thoughts on that.
So my thoughts are to leave pictures off of a resume. If you add your LinkedIn profile link, that is, again, a great opportunity for you to expand more on your experience, more on your connections, volunteer and internships. And obviously, having a professional photo on LinkedIn is key. Making sure that a picture, again, it's searchable, it's viewable, it's public. So you're putting out there a lot of who you are. But I would recommend to not put a picture on a resume, keeping it just that functional resume format, especially when you're uploading to multiple sites.
Okay, thanks. And here's another question. I always thought in education that the resume had to have multiple pages. Would you recommend a particular sector where I should have only a one-page resume?
So with providing information, especially for education or other leadership or management positions, you may be having those 2 pages, and that's okay. Don't think that having 2 pages is bad. It's eliminating any of the fluff and making sure that it is going to add value to the company, and making sure that you're putting in any of those skills or requirements. Majority of jobs and jobs out there, and obviously recruiters now being busy looking at resumes due to the current economic time. Definitely you want to make sure to keep it to 1 page if possible. But as a teacher, and if you have more years of experience to add on, and I would say keeping it to 2 pages is okay.
And I just want to add on to what Anita was talking about. If you are in higher ed and and have a CV, that's a little bit different. That will be multiple pages because it will be all your classes, all your research, all your presentations. So in that arena, the CV can be much longer.
Yes, absolutely.
And we have no more questions. Does anybody else have any other questions? Just double checking here.
Yeah, great questions so far. So I appreciate everybody who submitted questions, and hopefully during the presentation we were able to knock some of those out as well.
Okay, let me check one more time. I don't want to miss any. Oh, here we go. We have another question. Should you include your references on your resume?
I would recommend to just list references available upon request at the bottom of your resume. If there's an opportunity for you to upload your reference, a reference list, with maybe 3 to 4 professional references, then that's okay too. I would just leave it off of your actual resume.
Okay. Any other questions? Just gonna wait here a couple minutes, see if there are any more. In the meantime, if you do think of other questions about your resume, I just wanted to let you know that you can totally reach out to me, and I will put my email in the chat function. So if you want to email me any additional questions, or if you want to set an appointment, we can do that. We just had a question just pop up. Is leadership experience in volunteering positions valid leadership to list?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Is leadership experience in volunteering positions a valid leadership to list on your resume?
So I would say yes. Those are great skills to add to your resume. Again, if you don't have a lot of that paid work experience, what you've done in a volunteer role says a lot about how you're able to handle under what you're able to do handling under pressure. So again, if you don't have a lot of that paid experience and you want to add some of those leadership roles that you've had within volunteering, it paints that picture of who you are, what you've done, and what you're able to accomplish, because those are absolutely those transferable skills that we look at. So I love to look at that whole picture of an individual. There's always more to the story, so I know it sometimes feels a little bit daunting of how do I put everything I've done or been a part of, especially, you know, I'm sure we've got lots of great overachievers that have been a part of every club possible, and you didn't join them just to join them, more than likely, you know. So there's lots of places you could put that in a section within your resume, or you could expand it even more on LinkedIn, because that just becomes more of your organic resume where listing everything is okay.
Okay, let's see if we have any more. I don't see any other questions, but we'll just give you again a couple more minutes if you want to add. And I did just add my email to the chat feature. So it's Dugan, DUGAN .2@osu.edu. If you have any questions after the Workinar, please feel free to reach out to me. Well, since we have no more questions, I want to thank you all for participating today, and I want to thank Anita for doing such a great job. And again, as I had said, if you want to make an appointment or have additional questions answered, please feel free to reach out to me. As a final reminder, I just wanted to let you know when the webinar closes, you will be directed to take a survey. And we would love to hear from you, your feedback on the Workinar, and it will help us with our future Workinars coming soon. But thank you again, and thanks, Anita, and it was great seeing you again.
Great seeing you all, and good luck. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.